Has Netflix left Nigeria or they are just simply rumors? Well, in an article published by the Tech Cabal, it is a rumor. Well, we'll be delving deep into the stories of how Netflix presence has reduced in the country of Nigeria and a lot of stories surrounding it. We'll be delving and talking about it as well. Also, today being the first day of this particular weekend, we'll be giving to you the details of films that will be releasing this week in a cinema near you for you to make the decision to go and watch which movie that you fancy. So today it's going to be an exciting episode, which is episode 15 of the film mandate. I am Papa Otu, and stay tuned. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Film Mandate. I am Papa Otu, your host, and I'm thankful and grateful unto you for staying with me for these 3 weeks. And today marks the end of the third week, and I'm so excited that we've gone on this journey together, talking about films and talking about news about the film industry from both the African continent and the international scene. So I'm thankful. If you haven't subscribed, I would like you to take this time to hit the subscription button. And you have any information or you want to comment or want to share any view at all, kindly leave it in the subscription section, sorry, in the comment section below, so that at the right time I would read them out and then we can have a conversation, because film is nothing than just a conversation between families, friends, and loved ones, that we share a passion for the stories that we see on the silver screen. So thanks for joining me once again. And we'll be delving right into the very first story. And the very first story is about the rumor as to whether Netflix has left Nigeria. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case. In an article published by the Tech Cabal, Netflix denies market exit as it continues to invest in Nigerian content, by editor, which was published on December 4th, 2024. Now, for those who may have been in tune with what was happening from the continent of Africa, particularly in Nigeria, there were rumors of Netflix leaving Nigeria in mid to late 2024, and it spread so wild. However, this article establishes the fact that Netflix says that they haven't left Nigeria. So let me read it. Despite reports from three publications suggesting Netflix is exiting the Nigerian market, the global streaming giant has firmly denied these claims, insisting it will continue to invest in Nigerian content. I'm asking myself, why not African content? Anyway, that's just by the way. The speculation was fueled by comments from Nigerian filmmaker Kunle Afolayan, who spoke at the 2024 Zuma International Film Festival. Afolayan claimed Netflix cancelled several films it had previously commissioned from unnamed filmmakers. 3 years ago, when we signed the three-film deal with Netflix, it was really exciting, Afolayan said. The filmmaker went on to share that despite the stellar performance of those movies globally, Netflix seemed unimpressed by their returns in Nigeria. Thank God we had shot seasons 2 and 3 of Anikulapo, because of all the other people that were commissioned with us at the same time were cancelled. That's sad. However, Afolayan did not explicitly state that Netflix was exiting the Nigerian market, although his remarks will rightly drive speculation that the streaming platform is retreating from the country. This speculation is not entirely unfounded. Amazon Prime, another major streaming service, exited Nigeria in January 2024, 1 year after a huge market campaign and a slate of original Nigerian productions. In a statement to Tech Cabal on Wednesday, a Netflix spokesperson reaffirmed the company's commitment to Nigeria, saying, "We are not exiting Nigeria. We will continue to invest in Nigerian stories to delight our audience." The spokesperson did not immediately address Afolayan's claims about cancelled projects. Still, Wednesday's conversation and social media reactions highlight growing uncertainty around Netflix's long-term strategy in Nigeria, where rising inflation and currency devaluation have pressured consumer spending power. Netflix has struggled to capture a large share of Nigeria's competitive streaming market, which is dominated by the more affordable Showmax, a service operated by MultiChoice. Net, net, a service operated by MultiChoice. Netflix, currently priced at 7,000 naira, that is $4 per month, remains a luxury for many Nigerians, especially as inflation and naira devaluation erode purchasing power. With local players continuing to outperform in pricing, Netflix's ability to maintain its position in the region could become increasingly challenging. Netflix's relationship with Nigeria dates back to 2016 when it began licensing high profile local films. Since 2016, it has since 2016, it has poured over $23 million into Nigeria's film industry, backing over 250 locally licensed titles, co-productions, and original commissions. Lionheart, The Wedding Party 2, and King of Boys are some of its most recognizable titles. In 2020, the streaming service signed multi-title deals with prominent Nigerian producers like Mo Abudu's Ebony Life Productions. In 2021, it expanded its partnerships with Kunle Afolayan, signing a deal for 3 films, including an adaptation of Sefi Atta's Swallow. Additional reporting by Faith Omoniyi. So yes, this article claims that Netflix hasn't exited the market, and as we read, you realize that there were pertinent reasons with which Netflix has cut back on its investment in the Nigerian film market. And they highlighted it as one being the devaluation of the naira and the economic hardships of citizens to even see the $4 or the naira, 7,000 naira as a luxury. And it is quite a challenge. And this is what most often makes, I would say, Africa or most parts of Africa unattractive to investors who come in, the economic decline of most nations. And not just that, but the fact that there are competing streaming services in the country of Nigeria, making it impossible for Netflix to hold a strong position in the Nigerian market. Now, however, Netflix's investment in Nigeria is a positive remark for Africa as a whole. However, it's unfortunate that the challenges that they face with regards to the fact that they don't see the returns in the investment is a little worrying for the film industry worldwide. However, for those who may be wondering why would Netflix invest in Nigeria per se, there is a graph on the article that I think it needs taking a look at. Yeah, so if you take a look at this graph, the share of Netflix customers by countries in Africa, you realize that there are just a few countries on this very chart, arguably also including the entire continent of Africa, but the most dominant ones includes Nigeria. And the massive share, which is 73.3%, is South Africans. So a lot of South Africans watch Netflix. And this is what I've been talking about. For the foreign companies such as streaming, like a streaming service like Netflix, they keep data tabs on who is doing what, as to the market share, as to whether they are profiting from their investment at wherever they go or they have their streaming services at. And unfortunately, we don't have same. So, should even Netflix consider releasing these films in the cinemas before putting it on the platform for it to perform better? There will be no metrics by which to gauge it by to confidently invest in, because it's been tested that a lot of films that actually goes to the cinemas first before being released in the theaters do well, because then the marketing that might have gone about in promoting those films would have created enough publicity for people who couldn't see it even in the cinemas to want to see it on the streaming platform. So unfortunately, without these metrics, it becomes a challenge. But I digress. So if you take a look at the chart, you have the rest of SSA. I'm sure that would mean the southern South African region is 9.6, and you have Kenya also 3.9, and then the rest is the rest of, I'm sure, rest of Africa. But here, Nigeria holds a whopping 10.5% of the Netflix share in Africa, even regardless of the fact that they have keen competition in Nigeria from multi choices Showmax. So it is really a huge market when you consider the film industry or the entertainment. And I'm very certain that this is just a drop of the audience or those who watch Netflix, comparing it to the entire population of Nigeria. So this might just be a drop. So you could imagine if about 50% of Nigerians are watching Netflix, then it means that Netflix would have had a field day in that market, even with the $4 price that they charge for, I mean, monthly for watching or subscribing onto Netflix. However, there are also other prevailing rumors as to why perhaps Netflix might have, I mean, reduced their investment in the Nigeria film market. And I would like to read an article that covers that, which is quite interesting, because for those who are in the industry and whose ears are on the ground, there were so many rumors of mishandling of budgets and productions of funding from Netflix into the Nigerian market. As to whether it was true or not, nobody could verify from this part of Africa. However, this article shares a little light of what might have transpired when the rumors of what happened began. So I'd like to read a little bit and then we can talk about it further. So let me share the article, and this is published in The Guardian, not the UK one, but I think this is a version, a Nigerian version of The Guardian. So I read, let me start. So it has to do with YouTube and impediment to Nollywood's progress. However, they stated something about the Netflix withdrawal or reducing their presence, sorry, in Nollywood. And I'd like to share a little light on it. It's an interesting read, so I will leave the link in the description below, and I would encourage you to read the entire thing. However, at another time, in another episode, I would like to delve a little bit deeper because they touch on piracy and other issues, which I feel is a challenge to our industry as a whole, that is Africa as a whole. But I would like to just focus on what they spoke about. Okay, so in this article, the Basket Mouth, that is one of Nigerian's prominent comedians, was at a particular function where they were talking about the state of their industry, and he came to, I'm sure, I'm not so certain, but I'm sure in a jovial way, shed light on what might have happened or transpired in the industry with the advent of Netflix presence in Nigeria for that period of 8 years. So this is what he says. So at the 2024 Zuma Film Festival, the president of the Directors Guild of Nigeria, Victor Ohai, sorry, yeah, revealed that Netflix would be reducing its support for Nigerian films. This was also echoed by Afolayan, who directed Anikulapo and also the series Anikulapo Rise of the Spectre, both streaming on Netflix. The last time they were here, we had meetings and they are still reassuring that look, we are still here, we are going to do stuff, but we might not be able to do the kind of volume that we used to do. What I was emphasizing all at that meeting was to say, look, even if you guys are saying Netflix is not doing enough or Netflix is not talking as much as they should, why shouldn't we as a country even come up with other distribution platform? Afolayan explained. Interesting. He also stated that most Nollywood series streaming on Netflix were not approved for a second season by the platform except his own show, which luckily scaled before the new policy. Shortly after the event, comedian, shortly after the event, comedian Bright Okocha, popularly known as Basket Mount, blamed some movie directors for the platform's decision. And this is what he has to say. He said on Arise TV, so sorry, it wasn't at the event. So on Arise TV, pardon me. When the streaming platforms come in, they provided significant funding to producers, but these producers will take the $1.5 million or whatever they are given and use about 10% to make the movie. The rest, the rest, houses, cars, and personal expenses. I can't call names, but they know themselves. No, we sorry, he lamented that the misuse of funding from Netflix is the reason why most movies that made it to the platform reek of poor quality. He added, I'm not generalizing, but most of them, 70% or more, misuse these funds when the platforms noticed they started paying actors directly to ensure transparency. But even then, these producers would go behind the scenes and demand that actors return half of their pay. When you do that and expect your movie to be 100%, it can't. That's why some of our epic movies look like stage plays. The horses, they are lean and coughing. That's sad. If you're given $1.5 million to make a movie, use it all for the production. That's how you get quality. But cutting corners for luxury and lifestyle shows in the final film product. Oh, unfortunately, it didn't show on screen. Oh, pardon me. So, yeah, this is an article that stressed a little bit more on what the Nigerian film industry was experiencing, leading to. So, pardon me, I'll leave the article in the description below so that you can read more about it. But this is the statement that Basket Mouth made when he was interviewed on a TV station in Nigeria. And I'm sure they know the facts on the ground. So, as to whether it's true or not, I cannot speak to it. But it seems there's truth in it because some of the rumors that we heard circulating about was some of these issues, particularly with the aspect of somehow Netflix getting involved to pay the actors directly, which is sad because it means that a whole investor cannot trust you to pay your own workers. Then that is really not good to write home about. I pray that for Afoloyan and the others who are still in good working terms with Netflix are not facing the same challenges. And I pray that perhaps this is a good lesson for all of us to mend our ways and look at making the industry work. The good thing that And maybe the thing that we haven't noticed, or perhaps those who might have engaged in such affairs in not giving the best of investment to their production, is this: when you do a good movie, it shows on screen. When you invest the right amount of money per the story that you pitched to the investor, it will show on screen. And not just that, if it does well, what it means is that for your next project, the likelihood of you receiving not just a bigger pay, but a percentage of the back end profit is high. Maybe we don't have same in Africa, but looking at the fact that now we are playing on the global stage with the advent of Netflix investing in Nigeria and even Amazon coming in and other players, it means that if you perform well and the box office receipts plus the critical acclaim on your movie is really good, it's going to really tell on your next project, because then the offer you are likely to receive, if you negotiate well for, because it's a show business, not show friends, just as Robert Meyer Bennett will say, it means that you are likely to get a better deal for your next project. So, yes, it is sad that some producers or directors may think that they have to get all their lavish lifestyle made out of perhaps the first investment they are getting for their project, which is sad, because for filmmakers, you are as good as your last job that you did. And if your last job is that good, with raving reviews and good box office receipts, the likelihood of a better investment for your next movie is high. Take an example. I know it's not, it may be like comparing apples and oranges, looking at Hollywood and Nollywood. But then, if you take Todd Phillips, who directed The Joker. Todd Phillips was given roughly around $60 million to do the movie The Joker or Joker. And then when he did that movie and it received good critical acclaim from the critics and also made over $1 billion, the obvious thing was that he had the upper hand to negotiate better for the sequel, which unfortunately didn't go well. But for the sequel, they had a budget of over, I think, $180 million or over 200 millions, not counting cost for marketing. So obviously, he did a good job in the first one, which made it possible for him to negotiate for a bigger paycheck. And not just him, but all the actors involved, all the players involved had bigger shares or bigger pay. Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, and Lady Gaga all had good pay. So these are lessons that we need to really pay attention to. If you really want to make money, then perhaps the industry may not be the best place to look at making money now. But in the long term, if you play your cards well, negotiating for a good deal is always in the offing. Talk about Robert Downey Jr., who's receiving about $200 million for going to show up in Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. And it is because of his good work that he has done over the period of time across several Marvel movies. Same can be said of directors and those involved. And listen, it is possible for same to happen in Africa. It is more than possible. We need to really go back to the drawing table and re-strategize and think more about the industry. If we really care about the industry, we must cease from certain actions that makes us look bad in the eyes of the world. It is not really good. We must really think about the industry as a whole. And I can guarantee Nigeria and Africa as a whole, if we play our cards well and unite the market so well, I can guarantee that there will be a time when an African film can make $1 billion, perhaps on this continent alone, even not talking about other markets. It is more than possible. So we need to really dial back on, if I should say, perhaps trying to live off our budgets and let the film really, really work. Invest as much as you budgeted for into the film. It doesn't mean overspend, but invest what is reasonable to make the film good, because we forget that we are on a global stage, and whatever film we do here, whether good or bad, will speak of us out there. For so many years, the reason why perhaps none of these investors are bothered coming to Africa to invest the way they should, or the way they want to, rather the way they want to, is because most of our films are not of the quality that we they can speak good about. That is why Netflix and other platforms would demand certain high quality in terms of technicality, from lighting to every other thing, so that it can be worthy to be on their platform. So we need to really, if you really want to build the industry, if you really want to make the monies that the West are making, we need to take our industry serious. We just hope that the politicians also would help govern the nation to make our currency strong, the economy better, so that for $4 of for Netflix, the masses can afford it. And we are hoping that there will be a time when a lot of these hardships will be reduced, so that our countries as a whole in Africa can perform well to support our industry. So, yes, this makes up the first story. I know I've spent a lot on it, but hey, it is already the weekend, and I'm sure a lot of you have plans as to what you want to go and watch in the cinemas. And this, indeed, you can't take for granted, because I'm sure you've overworked yourselves and you want to distress. So, for this reason, I would like to bring up what is showing up this weekend in the cinema around you. So, from what you can see on screen, we have Silverbird displaying a number of films that will be airing in the cinema today. Today. So we have JAT, JAAT. I don't know whether it's JAT or JAT. Yeah, which will be showing today, April 11th. That will be the first time it will be in the cinemas. I don't know whether worldwide it has released already, or perhaps this is the international or worldwide release date. Yeah. And also showing will be Rami Malek and Lawrence Fishburne's film, The Amateur. And The Amateur, the little I've seen from the trailer, and then what's it called? What people have been talking about. It reminds me of Jamie Foxx's and Gerard Butler's film. Let me check whether I can see Jamie Foxx's and Gerard Butler's film. I don't remember the title, but it's so close in terms of what we call the plot. Yeah, it's almost the same. Yeah, law-abiding citizen. So this movie reminds me a little bit more of Gerard Butler's and Jamie Foxx's law-abiding citizen. It has almost a similar thread, but yes, different story anyway. But it's very similar in nature, and it looks very good. So I'm sure you may enjoy it if you choose to go and watch it. And here we have The Drop. I don't really know much about it, I must admit, but yes, for it to be a drama and mystery with 4 stars here, I'm sure it's good. Unfortunately, Silverbird doesn't have a lot of. I don't know whether these are those who are voting for the films here are critics or not. Perhaps they could look at getting a cream of a group of people who really are good analysts of movies to watch their movies and then vote on it, so that these votes will be sizable enough for someone to really decide whether they want to go and watch the movie or not. Otherwise, perhaps pull off the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes for these films, because majority of these films exist. I mean, these are international films, so obviously there will be some form of rating out there. So maybe they could consider that. I don't know about ratings for our local content though, but it's something worth taking a note of, because 1 or 2 votes are not good enough, a sizable enough sample for people to make a good decision to go and watch. Yeah. So also we have Radio Voice, and this is from Nigeria, which is a drama, and you have RMD in there, and RMD is one of Africa's, Nigeria's, and I would say Africa's finest actors. Our own Denzel Washington, or rather America may say their own RMD, but he is one of the finest actors that you can talk about. And I think he starred in the Netflix film The Black Book, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he starred in the Netflix film The Black Book. Also, so Radio Voice is also releasing today, April 11, 2025. You can go and watch it in the cinema. And yeah, The King of Kings animation is also showing in the cinema starting today, and it's a family animation film, a gospel film, or a religious film. And I think the timing of it is quite good because it's almost leading to the Easter festivity. So that is good. I think it's a story about Jesus Christ. Yeah, and I think there will be a big market for it if the promotion goes well. And here we have Good, Bad, Ugly. That's an interesting title because it's very similar or reminiscent of Clint Eastwood film. The film is starred in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah, so I think this is the language is Tamil, which I believe is in India. So it's, yeah, I'm not sure. So the last time I talked about how big the film industries are, and I mentioned Bollywood, perhaps India having two industries. Apparently, they have more than, they don't just have the Hindi aspect and the Bollywood, they have more than that. And I think Tamil is one of the section of the film industry they have in India, like what is happening in Ghana, which I wish we'll find a way of merging the two markets and focus on making it Black Star films rather than Kumawood and Black Star films. For those who do not know, Gollywood or Gollywood, the name has been changed to Black Star Films. It's unfortunate that it's not being promoted well so that it will stick. And well, that will be for another time. I would explain myself later. So we also have In Between, which is a Black Star Films. I don't know why Gollywood is on this particular site, but it's supposed to be Black Star Films. Yeah, so we have that also showing. Oh, it has already started showing in the cinemas. So I'm sure for those who have already watched it, I don't know whether there are critics reviews of it already out there. And then we have Minecraft, which also released last week, which I hear is doing good business in the box office receipts. So yeah, and then The Chosen Last Supper, which is supposed to be, so last week I said a film, but actually it's not. It's still a series, but being aired in the cinemas. I don't know why they chose this strategy this time around, but I would find out. I think the letter I heard was that the ownership of this particular franchise has changed hands, and there's a lot of drama going on there. So, well, it's now showing in the theaters. I don't know whether this is the last season or whether they intentionally planned this even way ahead before the withdrawal. And yes, if you can take a look at the ratings, yeah, there's a sizable number, not big enough, but at least it's good. We have 12 votes for the Minecraft, and you also have 13 votes for The Last Supper, which is a good sample. Is a good sample for such. Yeah. And here we have a Working Man, which released in March, and none other than Jason Statham, always in an action mode. So for those who love action, you can go and also watch it since it's still in the cinemas. And also same for The Masking, released in March 28th, and it has 6 votes. So yeah. And then we have Last Stop, also from last in March. Yeah. So for now, these are the films that are showing in a cinema near you, and if I think it's worth going to the cinema to go and watch them if you fancy any of them, it's something that interests you. So, yes. So, this is what I have for you this weekend. I don't know what you're going to watch, but whatever you watch over the weekend, kindly drop it in the comments for next week, and then let's talk about it, whether you enjoyed it or not. Let me know your views on some of the movies that I named here. If you watch any of them or any other, you can share them with us in the comment section so that we can keep talking. So I'm thankful for you joining me for this very episode and this week's episode of the film mandates for all the episodes I've done. Over the weekend, I will not be hosting as usual, but I'll return on Monday with juicy information from all that will happen over the weekend. However, I'd like you to stay tuned. There is a possibility of me releasing some reactions to some new trailers that might be releasing over the weekend. So it's very possible I'll still drop some content, but not the main episodic releases that I've done from Monday to Friday. So thank you so much, and I'm grateful for you joining me for this very episode, episode 15 of the Film Mandate. I am Papa Otu. See you soon.